What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Dome, and we're going to be talking about the 2025 NFL Draft Superlatives. So this is just going to be, my culmination of the draft video. I've been doing a lot of draft content, and now that the second and third rounds are over, we are officially into fantasy football season again. So if you guys like this video, please drop a like and subscribe. I'll be talking about the biggest risers and fallers for fantasy football reasons a little bit more, but overall, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. So I have 10 superlatives here to talk about today. The first one we're going to be talking about is the most improved roster. So this is a team that didn't really have a great roster beforehand, and they really picked players to fill their holes, to get everything in order. I chose the Tennessee Titans for this. And the reason why is I think they got a bunch of positions of needs that they really needed. Obviously, Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick can't really get too much better than that. Cam Ward is an unbelievable player. And then they went and they got, I apologize for a sec, Olafemi Oladijo, because their edge group is absolutely horrific. So they got a little bit there. And then they just took 2 skill position players, or I guess 4 skill position players, 2 receivers. I love that they took Elike Yomanor in the 4th. They also grabbed a running back to be as a 6th rounder, maybe behind Pollard and Spears, but I didn't think they needed that much. 1 more offensive lineman, because you can never have too many of them. I think their secondary was criminally overrated last year, so they got Kevin Winston Jr. and Marcus Harris. I think that this team really drafted for a lot of needs, and they improved a lot of positions on this team. And I think that with Cam Ward at the helm, I feel like this team could be a 6, 7, maybe even a 9-win team. But overall, I think that the most improved team is the Tennessee Titans. They drafted a lot of needs. Highest upside class and the biggest risk. So I'm kind of putting these two together because it's kind of the same thing. I think that this class definitely has the opportunity to be one of the best classes in this draft. However, I also see this as one of the worst classes in this draft. And I chose the Dallas Cowboys for this. So I really, really like their first 4 picks. Tyler Booker, Donovan Ezioraku, Siobhan Revell, and Jaden Blue. My issue with these picks is that Ezioraku and Siobhan Revell are guys who fell very far compared to where they were supposed to be drafted. And then Jaden Blue seems like it's a little bit late to get a running back. And so Tyler Booker as well, taking him with the first round pick, you don't usually take guards this early, which is why Tyler Booker is a huge risk, because even if he's just okay, he'll probably be labeled as a bad pick just because of the positional value. And then I think Ezioraku and Siobhan Revell both could be elite players, but they also both could be really bad players. Same thing with Jaden Blue. And the rest of the class, they didn't really they had a linebacker, defensive tackle, another running back, another defensive tackle. I just think that this class could turn out to be putting the Cowboys back in playoff contention, but it could also turn this team into a bottom feeder, top 5 pick territory team, especially with all the NFC East teams being as good as they are. Most polarizing draft class. Now, this is kind of like the Cowboys draft class, in which I think that this class could be really good, but also really bad. And I chose the Chicago Bears. It was no secret from my last video that I did not like this draft class. Colston Loveland, I feel like, was a terrible first-round pick. Luther Burden, I feel like, is also... I like Luther Burden as a player, but I think for this team, it's an absolutely terrible first-round pick. This team did not get a singular edge in the entire draft, which is their main position of need. They had a tight end. They had 2 good receivers. They've been drafting offensive line the entire time. I think that what they're trying to do is put the best situation around Caleb Williams. But the issue is that I don't think Caleb Williams proved that he's a great quarterback last year. I said this before. Caleb Williams needs to take a step up. And this Bears team is putting more weapons around him than they ever did with Justin Fields. And if they fail, and if Caleb Williams fails and turns out to be not a great quarterback, you're going to be stuck with, a team that is ready to win a championship, but that quarterback is just not there because the Chicago Bears are terrible at developing quarterback talent. And then also, you have absolutely zero edge threat or interior defensive line. I know they just drafted 2 guys. I like Shamar Turner, but not drafting an edge I feel like is an absolutely huge mistake for this Bears team. They need a dominant edge to be considered a good team, especially in that stacked NFC North. Best value draft. These are this is the team that I think got the best players based on where they drafted them. And I also feel like these guys can have a really, really big impact on this team. And call me biased, I am throwing the New York Giants here. Jackson Dart, yes, may have been a tiny bit of a reach. But getting Abdul Carter at 3 is I still think the best value in the top 10. Getting Darius Alexander in the 3rd round. Getting Cam Scadaboo in the 4th round. And Marcus Mabeau in the 5th round. Marcus Mabeau was supposed to be a day 2 pick. Cam Scadaboo in any other running back class probably would have been a day 2 pick. And Darius Alexander was supposed to be a 2nd round pick. So, besides the Jackson Dart pick, because that's not as much as value, that's for upside, but I still think that having Jackson Dart to be a backup is a good pick. But I know there's a team like the Ravens, but I have them later in the Superlatives video, but they got Mike Green in the 2nd round. But the rest of their draft wasn't very value-like. I think that all of these guys that the Giants drafted have super good value, especially some of the guys in the 7th round. Corey Black, I feel like, can come in, be a depth cornerback. You also got Thomas Fido in the 2nd, decent tight end out of Nebraska, can be a good backup for Bellinger and Theo Johnson. But those first 5 picks, I just feel like the value there is unbelievable. All 5 of these guys were consensus top 100 picks. Now the draft that is the most we drafted him class. So this is the class that is basically like, when you see these picks, you're like, why did we take this guy? Like, he's good, but we needed something else. And the team I put for this is the Cleveland Browns. So I think the Cleveland Browns overall had a very good draft, but I think especially trading down from pick 2 to get Mason Graham, I feel like a lot of Browns fans were like, we could have Travis Hunter. Why did we do that? And I actually like it. And the reason I like it is because I don't think the Browns are ready to compete for anything. And I think that they're not very good. So I like the fact that they went and starting to build the trenches. And the 2nd round pick, Carson Schwezinger, with the first pick of the 2nd round. I feel like this is also like a what the heck kind of pick. I was looking at the guys on the board, and I'm like, oh, there's a lot of guys, pretty good, and they go off-ball linebacker. Now, I really like Carson Schwezinger as a player, but for this Browns team, I feel like if I'm a Browns fan, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, we got a linebacker. And then you have 2 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, and a tight end. I feel like this is where it kind of goes a little crazy. Drafting Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd is kind of just like, whoa, we drafted Dylan Gabriel. Drafting Dylan Sampson in the 4th is like, we got Judkins, but we drafted another running back. And then Harold Fannin Jr., it's just like, all right, we have Njoku, but now we drafted Fannin. Overall, do I think this is a good class? I absolutely think this is a good class. However, I think that, the positional needs and the values they get down the board, like, they didn't get a single offensive lineman. They didn't get a wide receiver. They didn't get a secondary player. I think that taking 5 skill position players in a row is less beneficial. I feel like that Dylan Sampson pick could have been used on a secondary player or an offensive lineman player. I don't understand why and there's so many running backs in free agency that you could just pick up for a 1 year. You're going to start Quinshaw Judkins. Are you going to start Dylan Sampson too? That's just my take on it. But I do like this class. I actually think this is one of the better classes in the draft, just not as much for the positional needs that the Browns have. The most athletic class. So this is the team that drafted a bunch of athletic freaks, and also a team that honestly got two big steals, and I went with the Baltimore Ravens. Malachi Starks and Mike Green are the reasons why I put them here. They are just freaks of nature, super athletic, and super big steals, I have to say. They also got Emory Jones Jr., Teddy Buchanan. A lot of these guys, I guess the biggest athletic person they got is Tyler Loop, the kicker out of Arizona, because at least this kicker doesn't touch women without their consent. So, yeah, I think that this team, and as well as getting Garrett Dellinger in the seventh round, I think it's an absolutely huge steal. Going to be great on that line, and I think that this team is just very athletic and very high upside, which is, I feel like, what the Ravens' entire thing is. Lamar Jackson, I guess Derrick Henry kind of isn't, but Kyle Hamilton. They just created the most lethal safety duo in the league. Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks. Don't even get me started on that. Now it's time for the big four. I think these are my last four and the biggest ones. The most overrated draft class. I see some people rating this draft as an A+. Some people doing it an A. Some people saying it's the best draft class that people have had. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I can't see what this draft does for the Buccaneers now. The Buccaneers have their two top receivers at the tail end of their careers, still putting up insane numbers. We saw what Chris Godwin did last season before he got hurt. You just got your new franchise running back in Bucky Irving. What you really need to do is stack up that defense a little bit more. Maybe get a tight end. Maybe get a secondary player, a linebacker. And in the first round, the Buccaneers go receiver. I just don't get what the picture is here for the Buccaneers. Are they trying to win now, or are they trying to build for the future? I think that the Buccaneers need to start winning now. Baker Mayfield does not have that many years left. And I think that Baker Mayfield is ready. I think that this team is ready to win a Super Bowl. Let's be real. Jalen McMillan was a receiver that showed very good flashes when Godwin and Evans were both out. And so you're just going to immediately replace him with Emeka Egbuka? And not to mention in the 7th round getting Tez Johnson. They got two edges and two corners, which I do like, but I think they put their positional value in the wrong spot. I think that you needed to get a corner in the first round. You could have gotten, at pick 21, you could have gotten Malachi Starks. You could have gotten Jahad Campbell. You could have gotten so many other players, but instead you went with a position that you don't need right now. And if you're trying to win a Super Bowl right now, which I think the Buccaneers need to try and do because their veterans or their stars are aging, this is not the draft class to go. Could it still be good? Yes, but I'd give this more of a C rank rather than an A+. The most underrated draft class is the Atlanta Falcons. I think that with only having 5 picks in this draft, I think that the Falcons did unbelievably good. The Falcons are a team that I think that they are ready to go for a Super Bowl. They have a lot of good talent. They have a franchise running back in Bijan Robinson. Drake London and Darnell Mooney is a good 1-2 combo at receiver. You have Kyle Pitts. You have a pretty good offensive line, Chris Lindstrom. And you have a defense that you have some good interior guys. Your secondary with A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates, really, really good. What you need now is an absolute dominant edge rusher. So instead of putting all your marbles in on one edge rusher, why not grab 2? Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. If one of them busts and the other one goes really good, I think it's a home run pick. And as well, you get to pair Xavier Watts up with Jesse Bates to create another really scary safety duo in the NFC. So overall, if Michael Penix can develop a little bit more, I think this team made a really, really good decision. They focused on their 2 biggest needs, edge and safety and secondary help. They also got an offensive lineman in the 7th round. He might play, who knows. They did give up their first for next year, but I have a feeling that the Falcons think they are going to be a good team. And unlike the Buccaneers, who know they're a good team, they didn't try and make themselves better. They just tried to lower their floor in the future. It's almost like the Buccaneers didn't want to win, but the Falcons, they want to win. The worst overall draft. This is the team that I think had the worst draft by far, and it's the New Orleans Saints. If I'm a Saints fan, I am very not happy. You took Kelvin Banks Jr. in the first, and on paper it's like, okay, that's a fine pick. We do the offensive line. This team has taken 4 first-round offensive linemen since 2020. This team is old and aging. I know you want to try and rebuild the trenches. You've been doing that for the last 4 years. And so spending a first-round pick on another offensive lineman, one who probably isn't going to have the arm length and the strength to play offensive tackle. A lot of teams have him as a guard. When you need desperately so many other positions. And then to top it off, in the second round, they took 25-year-old Tyler Shuff from Louisville. Listen, Tyler Shuff could turn out to be a good quarterback. You reach on that position. But my issue with Tyler Shuff is he's not young. He has major injuries, which is something that the Saints always seem to have a problem with. And his combine was terrible. He can't throw. Obviously he can throw, but if you're not making accurate throws in practice, what are you going to do in a game? And then the rest of the picks, they took the worst Texas D tackle. They took a safety, a linebacker. I like Devin Neal as running back for when Kamara retires, but overall, this draft is just if I'm a Saints fan, I am not very happy about this draft. I think it's a lot of low upside players and nothing that will help the Saints dig out of this hole that they've put themselves in with their cap situation. Now, the best overall draft. I thought of a couple teams for this one, and I just don't think I can give it to any other team besides this one. I think this team had the best free agency, and now the best draft. And the reason why I say this is because they literally had their number 1 player tell the team that he would die to protect his first round pick quarterback. Yes, some of you might know, it is the New England Patriots. I think that this team did the perfect combination of taking BPA and filling needs that they needed. Will Campbell and Travion Henderson, 1-2 punch in the first 2 rounds. Absolutely love them both. Will Campbell is going to be a stud. I do not give a shit about his small arms. And Travion Henderson is a solid running back, which is exactly what the Patriots needed, is a solid run game to help out Drake May. The other thing they needed was a wide receiver, which they got in the 3rd round with Kyle Williams. And I'm glad that they only got 1 wide receiver. And that's because they just signed Diggs. They still have Douglas, Boutte, Bourne. They have a lot of guys in that wide receiver room that could turn out to be good. I really like what Boutte can do. He's only 22, second year in the league, former 5-star. I think the Patriots can get a lot out of him. And then you upgrade the offensive line even more with another tackle in the 7th round and a center, the best center in the class, in the 3rd round. Get the secondary good with Craig Woodson out of California and Kobe Minor, Mr. Irrelevant. You also get an edge, Braden Swinson from LSU, big name edge, as well as another D tackle. You lost Godshaw last year. I think that this team, had some really, really good players and fit a lot of needs. And they even got a long snapper and a place kicker, which Patriots kicking has been absolutely terrible the last couple of years. So overall, I think that this Patriots team, if you look at the New England Patriots depth chart as of right now. It's right here. Drake May turns into Travion Henderson. He's going to start. You got Diggs, probably going to be Boutte at the 2. Kyle Williams. You still have Hunter Henry. I think he's a solid tight end. And that offensive line, man, how much better does that look? Layden Robinson, Will Campbell, Garrett Bradbury, Michael Nwenu, Morgan Moses. You have Jared Wilson as a backup too. Cole Strange is still here. Wes Schweitzer. I think this team looks about 1,000,000 times better than they looked last season. And, you know, I think that they killed the draft, honestly. I think a lot of teams killed the draft. If we're talking about other teams that I may want to talk, I didn't talk about in this video that had pretty decent draft classes. The Steelers, I really like them. Derek Harmon, I feel like was a great pick. And then Will Howard is a value in the later rounds. Who else did we see? Jacksonville Jags. Absolutely love what they did for Travis Hunter. I honestly am just happy he's not in the Browns. The Browns would have absolutely ruined him. The Chiefs and the Eagles, the Commanders, they all had decent classes. The Denver Broncos had a really good class too. I like them. Panthers had okay class. And then the rest of the league just kind of had okay classes. But yeah, these are the 2025 NFL Draft Superlatives. I'll go over, give you a quick reminder what all we talked about today. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please, once again, leave a like and subscribe on it. Now, the draft is over, and we can get into fantasy football content. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I'll catch you guys in the next video.